In the 1950s, boxing wasn't controlled by promoters. It wasn't controlled by athletic commissions. It wasn't even controlled by champions. It was controlled by the Mafia, and when a loud, fast-talking kid from Louisville burst onto the scene, he walked straight into a boxing world owned by mobsters and ruled by fear. This is the story of how Muhammad Ali fought not just Sonny Liston, but the organized crime empire behind him. Muhammad Ali, born Cassius Clay Jr., grew up far from the Mafia's world. At 12 years old, he started boxing after his bike was stolen, and his talent quickly became undeniable. Olympic gold medalist at 18, world champion at 22, Ali rose faster than anyone expected. But what made Ali unstoppable wasn't just his skill, it was his independence. By the time Muhammad Ali laced up his first professional gloves, boxing had already been hijacked. Controlled for decades by two men, Frankie Carbo was one of the deadliest figures ever to enter sports. A true mafia hitman for the Lucchese crime family, Carbo was involved in multiple murders during the 1930s. But by the 1940s and 50s, he shifted into something even more profitable, controlling professional boxing. He didn't manage fighters, he owned them. To many insiders, he was known as the godfather of boxing. Through threats, beatings, and backroom deals, Carbo secretly controlled championship bouts across the country. And Blinky Palermo, a high-ranking mob associate. These men didn't just manage fighters, they owned them. They owned referees, judges, promoters, even championship belts. Senators would later call Frankie Carbo the underworld's commissioner of boxing. Carbo fixed fights, threatened fighters, forced champions into signing contracts with mob-owned managers. And if you didn't sign, you disappeared. Sonny Liston came from one of the harshest childhoods in American sports history. Born into an abusive sharecropping family, he never even knew his real birth date. As a teenager, he turned to crime, eventually landing in prison where his natural power caught the attention of coaches. But when he was released, the mob stepped in before anyone else. Liston's boxing ability made him dangerous in the ring, but his criminal past made him vulnerable outside of it. Sonny Liston was the most feared fighter of his time, a giant with criminal scars, and a punching power that terrified everyone. But behind the gloves stood the Mafia. Liston's contract was secretly owned by Frankie Carbo, Blinky Palermo, John Vitale of the Street Lewis Mob, and mob-connected manager Jack Nealon. FBI files confirm it. Senate records confirm it. Even Liston admitted it to friends. I go where they tell me to go. I fight who they tell me to fight. Sonny Liston wasn't a champion. He was property. Promoters didn't dictate his fights. Mobsters did. And when they needed him to win, he won. When they needed him to lose, he lost. Sonny Liston was no boxer. He was an investment. And then came him, Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr., the loudest, funniest, boldest fighter the sport had ever seen. He wasn't afraid of Liston. He wasn't afraid of anyone. But the Mafia? They weren't afraid of him either. They just didn't understand him. Ali refused mob-controlled managers. He refused the traditional path, which meant dealing with crime families. Ali was uncontrollable, unpredictable, and, most importantly, he couldn't be bought. The Mafia hated that. They couldn't own Ali. So instead, they waited for Sonny Liston to destroy him and get their money machine back on track. February 25th, 1964, Miami Beach. Oddsmakers made Ali a 7-1 underdog. Mob-connected gamblers placed huge money on Liston. They expected a quick knockout, a public humiliation, a return to order. But Ali had other plans. Ali frustrated Liston. He outboxed him. He got inside his head. Midway through the fight, Liston quit on his stool. The mob's invincible champion, beaten by a 22-year-old kid, The Mafia lost millions. Bookies scrambled. Mob families blamed each other. The fight destroyed Liston's value and embarrassed the underworld. FBI surveillance logs recorded outrage within the mob. In one meeting, a mobster said, "The kid ruined everything." Another called Liston a disgrace. Some believe Liston's defeat created a rift inside the crime families that controlled him. Ali didn't just beat a fighter, he beat an empire. The rematch. May 25th, 1965. A small venue. Tight security. Strange circumstances. Then it happened. Ali threw a quick right hand. Liston fell. And the world erupted. Was it real? Was it fixed? Did the Mafia tell Liston to lose? We don't know. But we do know this. Mob bosses were still connected to Liston. FBI agents were monitoring the fight. The betting lines shifted strangely before the match. Liston was seen associating with mob contacts weeks prior. Several mob informants claimed the fight was not legitimate. No court ever proved a fix. But the suspicions have never died. Ali did what almost no boxer before him could do. He escaped Mafia control. Why? Because Ali wasn't alone. He had powerful backing from the Nation of Islam, the Louisville sponsoring group, and later, his own global fame. He didn't sign Carbo's contracts. He didn't fall for mob promoters. He didn't let himself become property. Ali broke the system.